Alright, so I was just walking, starting to get dark, and I looked to the side of the road that I was walking on, and as I looked over, there was a shadow there, and it looked like it could be like a ravine that I could fall into. And so that made me kind of think, for some reason or another. It like made a thought pop into my head, and it was essentially that, in life, most people sort of, they rely on their eyes, and they're very confident about, that they won't stumble and fall into any holes, or run into walls, because they can see pretty clearly what's around them, and that's sort of the world that they interact with, and that's what they are often focused on in the material world. That's the world to them, and so they're very confident with what they see, and that they won't fall into any holes or run into any walls. But I was thinking, emotionally, most people are kind of like walking without any eyes, or they're walking in the darkness, and they're constantly stumbling, falling over, landing inside of holes that they can't climb out of, running up against walls that they don't notice exist. They just continually sort of march up against the wall, and it might take them 5-10 years before they stop walking into the same wall emotionally. So in the realm of emotions, because we've not trained our eyes, our feeling eyes, our senses with which we feel, and we don't allow ourselves quite often to feel the feelings that we actually feel. We still feel them, we just don't acknowledge them, and we wear masks. And so this made me think of another thing, was that we wear masks to convince other people, but not only do we wear them to convince other people of who we are and how they should treat us, we wear them so that we can convince ourselves of this is who we are, and this is how we should be treated, and this is what I want, and this is what is good for me. And all that could be completely 180 degrees off the mark of the truth of what is actually good for us, and what it is that the more the deeper part of us really wants, because we're so heavily influenced by a world that does not respect emotional sight. There's wise men on the internet that are extremely wise that I've listened to, and they, on so many things, they can be very intelligent, but then they say, but I don't see any point of talking about my feelings, or looking at that, I don't need that, that's for sissy boys, that's for weak men. And it's kind of amazing to me, this kind of blindness that has developed in this world, that people really think that there's something wrong with really understanding what it is that we're about, and we're not just about goals, we're not goal, it's like so much of what this world is and how we're trained to think about it is like, oh, well, you need to have a goal and you need to work towards your goals, and if you're not achieving anything in your life, then you're a piece of shit, If you're not working towards something, then you're useless, If you're not providing a service for other people, then you're useless. Well, that's evaluation, that comes externally. The question is, what is the reality of, the person's experience? What is it that, what is it that they're what is it that they're really suited to, Why is it that we're like putting people through these this extruder education system that gets people to think along these very narrow lines of success, where they're not really learning about who it and what it is that they are? And why aren't we encouraging people to discover their real talents, so that we don't have people who are actually have a lot of creative genius, end up working in extremely in positions that are just, that could be filled by so many other people, that are more well suited to that, because we have people thinking in terms of these completely incorrect frames, where they're not taught to develop a real understanding of, who and what it is that they are and what they can provide, to this world. Because you can't provide anything if it doesn't, of quality, if it doesn't really come from what it is that you're actually suited to do. And what we have in terms of conventional wisdom is that we just download information into children and then make them into what we want them to be, and or that you can be whatever you want to be. You just you come up with they're always asking kids well, what do you want to be, and then the kid tells them, and then then they say, oh yeah, you can be that. Well, I mean, that's some indicator, I suppose, of an interest, but it's, if you just try to go on based off of that, you could go, you try to set your, if you try to set your goals too early, you could work towards something that is actually, has a flavor of, who you are, but isn't really what you're ultimately going to be most suited to provide for yourself and others. And, to really find that, you have to try different things, and you have to feel encouraged, by the people that you look up to, in this world. And unfortunately, the people that we look up to in this world are, highly ignorant about what it really means to be who and what you are. And so, yeah, I just think it's interesting that, we rely on our eyes, and we're confident with our eyes that we can walk along paths and feel like we're not going to fall down or run into walls. But with our emotional eyes, where most of us are just stumbling through this world, and we end up in holes for far longer than we should, and we're running up against walls far longer than we should, because we just aren't looking, with our feelings. We're not developing, our sight, our emotional sight, and our self-awareness. What is it that really makes us feel alive? Makes us feel like the energy that is within us is being put to good use. So anyhow, just some insights here. Have a good one.